There is many different chests in Sea of Thieves, and for the most part people are willing to grab whatever comes their way, but there is one chest that gives every Sea of Thieves player pause. I'm of course talking about the Chest of Sorrow. Let me explain why this chest is so dangerous really quick. You see, the Chest of Sorrow will randomly start crying, and when it starts crying it fills your ship with water, and if you aren't paying attention, well, I guess you can see where this would lead you. So why am I talking about this chest today? Well, in Season 9, Rare added a new Voyage, which allows players to dig up 3 different cursed chests. The Chest of Grog, Rage, and of course, Sorrow. And I wanted to see how many of these cursed chests I could stack before getting overwhelmed. However, I didn't want to suffer alone, so I decided to bring my good friend along, Dominic. We quickly looted the outpost for anything useful, and I bought a bundle of Voyages so we could begin our stack. I then slapped the Voyage down on the captain table and I voted for it. But I was caught off guard when the Voyage handed me a wayfinder compass instead of a regular map, but they are quite simple to understand. Just follow the direction the compass is pointing in and the treasure will be yours in no time. We then took off towards our first destination. The seas were still and calm, and it looked like it was going to be a relaxing afternoon of sailing around. Shortly after, we arrived at our destination and I dug up the treasure. It was our first Chest of Sorrow. We quickly loaded it on board and of course it began to cry immediately. Luckily for us though, in Season 9 Rare actually nerfed the Chest of Sorrow quite a bit. One single chest would not be enough to sink us. We followed the wayfinder compass to the next location and we repeated the process. While on our way to the third island is when we spotted something peculiar. It was another sloop with a very long emissary flag. That means they were carrying treasure, and if we could take him out, it would give us a hefty addition to our gold purses. So after collecting yet another crown chest, we went for it. I scoped out the ship using my spyglass, and that is when I saw the name of the ship. Oh my, the Orphan Collector.
That is cold.
How can I not sing something like that? Come on. Feeling quite motivated after seeing the name, we quickly rolled up on them. But before we could get any good shots on them, they took off. However, Dominic wasn't going to let them get away that easily.
Potential.
Caught that.
I caught that. What the fuck? I killed him as well.
Honestly, I have no clue how we made that. With the anchor down, it was only a matter for me to sail up next to it and lay into it with some cannon fire. But before we could get things really started, the guy quit the game. I guess he doesn't like it when they fight back. As expected, he carried quite a bit of loot on him, mostly merchant cargo. But hey, gold is gold, right? After gathering up his cargo, we went back to our voyage once again. Now, I'll be honest, most voyages in Sea of Thieves aren't the most exciting thing in the world. There are some that stands out, but this one was turning into something quite painful. Not only was the loot we were hunting hazardous, it was also quite slow work. You see, the wayfinder compass only shows you the location of one treasure at a time, meaning that we couldn't lay out an effective route to follow in order to speed things up. We simply just had to go wherever the compass told us to go. The voyage went on for quite a while, and that is when Dom told me something I didn't want to hear.
I actually think I might have to come off soon.
Getting too tired, Dom?
Yeah, my eyes are really hurting. See you later, buddy.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And then I was alone. Running on fumes, he decided he needed to lay down, and I was left on my own. Personally, I don't mind playing Sea of Thieves by myself, but this voyage was a bit different. Cursed chest on board needed near constant supervision, and without a partner, I had to do everything on my own. Steer, bail the water, find the location of the next treasure. It was a lot. Sure, I could have just headed to an outpost and turned the treasure in, but where would the fun be in that? I guess you can say I'm a bit of a masochist. So I continued to work through it. I had set a challenge to myself, and I wanted to see it through. Whenever I reached the location I needed to go, I would simply throw the crying chest overboard and let him float in the water while I searched around. This worked fine for the most part. It was slow and painful work, but I kept pushing, adding more and more to cursed treasure on board. But things were starting to get hectic now. With multiple crying chests on board, my ship was filling with water quite rapidly. That is when I encountered a megalodon. If this thing bit me at the wrong time, it could spell disaster for me. So I did what I had to do. I turned it into canned tuna. Yummy. After that off-kilter experience, I continued to sail around and gather more treasure. That is when I spotted something I didn't want to see. There was 2 sloops going at it, most likely a faction battle. And I admit, I was scared. Even though I love the PvP in Sea of Thieves, right now I was in no shape to engage anyone. There were simply too many things going on my ship. I had about 7 crying chests on board, and they were crying nearly constantly, making it so I had to panic bilge in order to stay afloat. I was also carrying 4 chests of rage, which would actually cause the water to boil, meaning whenever I stepped into the water to bail, I would take damage. I kept trucking along, keeping my distance from the battle. I hoped that whoever won the battle was more interested in grinding allegiance than gold, but I could only hope, right? After reaching Thieves Haven and digging up a chest of 1,000 grogs, a skeleton galleon was approaching the island, and I saw an opportunity. The crying chest that had so long been the bane of my existence was actually going to become one of my greatest weapons. You see, the skeleton galleons can be quite dangerous. They're capable of moving incredibly fast, and their cannons can literally snipe you from miles away. They can also take an extreme amount of punishment before going down, so even on the best of days, taking on one by yourself is quite a challenge. But you see, the skeletons on board the galleon are incapable of bailing water. So with a chest of sorrows in my hands, I swam towards it. As I approached it, it aggroed, but it was already too late. I was on the ladder, and the chest was now on board. I quickly launched myself back to my ship, and I began to prepare myself. I quickly jumped on a cannon and I fired upon it. I could hear the chest crying in the distance, and I knew it was filling the beast with water. However, the skeletons were going down without a fight. They fired upon my ship, nailing her multiple times, even hitting me with a balance ball, causing me to nearly sink. But I stayed vigilant. I fought them off with everything I had, and finally, my plan came to fruition. The chest of sorrow had managed to sink the beast. With a little bit of help of my cannons, of course. After gathering up my well-earned loot, I went back to my voyage, but something was wrong. The Wayfinder compass was telling me to go back to Thieves Haven. I followed the compass and it led me directly to where I just dug up my grog chest. I tried digging around, but nothing. I couldn't find whatever it wanted me to find, so I took it as a sign to head to an outpost and sell my treasure. Luckily, the outpost wasn't far away. After reaching it, I quickly unloaded my cursed treasure, then I set it up to take a quick photo, and then I sold everything. After selling my loot, I earned about 500,000 gold. Not a bad payday, but this voyage wasn't about the money, it was about the accommodation progress. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my little tale today. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do. As always, this has been your friend Nobelnaga, signing off.